Okay, so hi there everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of the quarantine interview. I'm your host, Lionel Negrino, the reigning king of Samkid, the king of YYC. And here with me, I'm interviewing a good friend of really talented local photographer that uh, is work printed in foreign films, India, and many publications. Floyd Gonzales. Yay!
Woo!
Welcome,
It's happening.
welcome, Floyd. Welcome, Floyd.
Thanks
So,
for having me on our show.
no problem anytime, anytime. So, I know this is a weird dynamic, a weird normal for us to adjust with, but how are you doing in your quarantine? But
Pretty good. I think I'm getting used to being at home all the time now. It was weird at first. It still kind of is, I guess, not being able to go outside and shoot and take photos of people and stuff like that, since that's primarily what we do, what we shoot photos of. So it's been hard to adapt to that, but everything else, I think I've been working a lot more on the back end stuff on my website. I've been posting a lot more regular on Instagram. Um, yeah, I've been keeping myself busy with a lot of projects that I guess I put to the side while we weren't in quarantine and everything was kind of normal.
oh yeah, I totally get it. But I totally get it. And when you're talking about other projects, what do you mean by other project? What are you working on now?
I've always, right now, actually, I've always thought about setting up how to sell prints on my website. I put it off for the longest time, and now I'm actually finally getting to it. Trying to figure out which photos to put on there, and then figuring out all the logistics of how to get the print, get the physical print, get it shipped to me, and then you're getting it shipped to whoever decides to buy the print, I guess, and then figuring out how to price everything. And there's a lot of trying to figure out stuff when you're trying to sell stuff online. I thought it was a lot easier, but now that I'm actually sitting down and doing it, there's a lot more little cogs and gears that goes through the process of trying to do that.
Yeah, it's building. People don't realize that building a website is really hard and gets a long process with it. But when creating a website, what platform do you use?
I'm on Squarespace, seeing as I don't have any coding background. I'm not a web developer or anything, so Squarespace has a lot of templates ready for a lot of different people, but especially photographers. I think it's very streamlined and user friendly. But I think still, like, the shop side is still a bit more complicated for me. Still trying to figure how to set that up
Go,
overall.
go. Like, yeah, building a website takes so much work and figuring out the payment situation is really just really hard to figure out, and people don't realize it costs the photographer money, right?
Hmm.
Like, you count, do you take that to your account in like charging your client too?
Sorry, which?
Do you take the website expenses into account when you're charging your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I never really did at the beginning, but then the back end costs started to add up more than what I was making in photography. So I've since obviously started to account for back end charges that comes with photography, not only your website, but there's your gear. It goes through wear and tear. If you don't have lights, you got to rent that stuff out or you got to buy your own. Every click on your camera costs money. It depreciates the value of the camera in general. So that's why there's a lot of hidden costs that clients don't really know what goes into. If you need a studio to rent, you got to factor that in. Your team that you work with, your stylist, your makeup artist, your assistants. There's a lot, and it could really add up. So yeah, short answer: website pricing should be included in your the pricing that you charge your clients, and it is now in mine. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And yeah, by the way, there's some feedback in my end. Is there any feedback in your end?
it's kind of choppy, but it's not. There's no feedback.
Yeah, it's kind of jockey.
It's better
Yeah,
now.
yeah, it's better now. Technology, man. Give my phone for once, please.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know what's happening with the audio.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully, that way, please come on, work with me for another 25 minutes.
Hashtag
Okay.
Mondays, right?
Yeah. Monday motivation on Monday. Okay, okay, getting back into photography. Let's go back in the beginning. So, uh, why and how did you get started into taking photos?
I guess growing up, I've always had a little bit of an interest with photography. I always had some sort of camera in my hand, whether that be like a film point and shoot camera from my parents, or my dad was super into it. He had a handy cam when we were kids, and he'd make us, he'd either be videotaping us or I'd be the one behind the camera and stuff like that for family trips and family events. And I guess where it all started to me trying to pursue it more of as a career then is when my family actually went on a trip to Japan and the Philippines. And my brother had this camera that was lying around, and he was never using it. And it was a Canon T1i, like an entry level DSLR camera, and it was just sitting there not doing anything. So I was like, oh, let's play around with this. I'm gonna bring it on my trip. I bought a lens for it, um, and then while I was on the trip, I just shot away, and then found that you know trying to capture different scenes in life, different scenes in during the day, wherever you are. I was kind of just drawn to it, and then I guess when we came back to Calgary, I started looking more into different photography communities that I could look into and kind of grow and learn and kind of figure things out. Uh, just getting step by step closer to pursuing it as a career. And then so I joined this photography group, and then went a photo walk in the city. That's where I met you,
Oh yeah,
and that's I guess that's the story of how I got into it. Been taking pictures ever since.
yeah. So all I got is I can see your life. um, I'm totally getting but with like photography, like the common theme I get with all the interviews I'm doing. a sense of community, and photography for you brings a sense of community because we're surrounded by a group of people and sharing what we love
Yeah.
to do, and we get to learn from each other too. So, like talking about photography, what photos do you normally take?
I usually gravitate towards portraiture, fashion, um, more so lately street photography. I love it when there's different lights and shadows on buildings or objects, cars, streets. Um, but in general, I try and dip my fingers into all different types of photography. I've delved into stereo photography here and there, landscapes, but I definitely look more lean towards the fashion side of things or portraiture, street photography on my off times, just walking around different places. I love walking around downtown Calgary and just snapping different pics of scenes throughout the day. So I think that's where I fall into the types of photos that I usually take.
So, what about fashion really what part of fashion photography really interests you?
Probably the trends, current fashion trends really interest me right now. Either what's up and coming, and I want to showcase that for everyone to see, or trends that are coming back from past decades and stuff like that. Just really viewing how people express themselves through outfits, I guess, is what kind of makes me want to capture that and showcase it to an audience, a larger audience.
Yeah, and I totally get it. Like, for you can really, like, we can really tell what most people are like based on their outfit,
Mm-hmm.
and like with fashion, it just bring a new confidence in people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with like fashion shows, can you tell me like some of the clients you work with? Do you work with a lot of like big companies, or do you work with a lot of local businesses?
I think it's been a mix of both so far. I would probably put it as a like an 80-20 split between local and national clients. I haven't worked with huge companies yet. The dream, something like a Nike campaign or Patagonia or something like that. That'd be awesome. But mostly, it's like a 75-25 split. I've worked with local laundry. Um, who else is a local for stuff? LSG Denim. Um, and I've worked with companies out of like New York or New Orleans, maybe Vancouver. It's hard to remember
Oh yeah.
what I've done.
So for the when when picking up when picking a client, a fashion client to work with, do you do you accept anyone that come to you, or do you like really like choose and see like if they line up with your beliefs and your creative value?
I think at the beginning, I've definitely leaned more towards seeing who would be willing to work with me, just because I wasn't really sure what my style was or how my creative direction was at the time. But now I'm definitely a lot more selective with which clients to work with and see if they fit with the sort of creative direction that I've I usually shoot in or the style they usually edit in. So I'm definitely, it has to be a fit between both client and photographer. I think if someone approaches you and it's completely not what their theme is or what their usual style is, it doesn't make sense for you guys to be working together unless you may want to kind of start venturing into that direction or style. Then I think it's definitely worth to really research who is approaching you for potential projects to see if you guys are on the same page with the overall creative direction of the campaign or project.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like once you once you get a lot of clients, you need to be a little bit picky with who to work with because in the same time you need to be liking your work and enjoying and being motivated because you get the best results if you feel that intrinsic reward, right? Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that. If you're not feeling the vibe of the brand or client you're shooting with, and it kind of comes through in the final products and the final photos. It's like I just did a okay job at this versus whoa, I'm really proud of this,
def-
right? So
definitely, definitely. And also, I noticed you're wearing a local
sure am.
wearing a logo ad. So can you tell me a little bit about why supporting local is important to you as a photographer?
I think a huge chunk of my business is local people, and it's definitely important to support local people because it kind of just you guys grow together. You're growing a community. If they like you like them. You're gonna talk about them. They're gonna talk about you, and so you just kind of grow together in your journeys to success and overall bigger picture.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if you're watching it, we love your local laundry. Don't
Wear the
mind,
hat all the time.
don't mind me wearing where where my hat is kind of flat. We're building a table right now, so I cannot get my hat out of the, out of the drawer. So I'm
You're wearing
so
the hat in spirit.
yeah, I'm wearing the hat in spirit and really sorry that I didn't take the hat out of the drawer sooner. So anyway, back to photography and the creative side of things. What is your creative process like from the from the idea to the finished product?
I get a lot of my creative inspiration from other photographers. Actually, I follow a lot of very inspirational and creative photographers on Instagram. I have a lot of their photo books. I'm inspired by a lot of hip hop rap photographers who shoot on uh, analog format, I guess, film photography. So I try and emulate that with my style a lot. And then I guess it's more of a collaboration between who I'm working with and myself. We try and brainstorm ideas together that would look on brand with them and on brand with me. And we just get a lot of ideas. I get mine from movies too, actually, depending on which one, what the campaign or project is. So I go through a lot of things to find inspiration and creative ideas from.
Yeah, totally. Like it's funny how photographer and even like all kind of artists get their inspiration from new media because we are so lucky to be living in a world that is on demand. So we're able to like look up an idea and
Yeah.
make it our own. And I
Hmm.
see a lot of photographers doing what you said, like just looking up, calling on the internet, calling on Instagram, or looking up movies and be like, yeah, hey, I wanna do that, and putting that in your perspective.
Hmm.
But for the editing, what software do you use?
I'm mainly on Lightroom. Photoshop if I need some retouching or more complicated photo edits.
Yes.
Um, when I started, actually, I've only edited on my phone. When
Oh
I started
yeah.
shooting photography, I've only edited using my phone. So I did that probably for a year, just using my phone, and then I discovered Lightroom and raw photos. Right now, you can manipulate a lot more detail and depth with raw photos. So
Can I?
Lightroom is my software of choice for
Yeah.
editing.
Can I tell them the story about about the one time the first month we saw together?
Which
Like,
one?
oh, I'm gonna tell them the story about me finding out about your editing process.
Sure.
Yeah, so we've been after the photo walk, we've been shooting together like 2 weeks later because we found out that we were neighbors, and then Floyd and his brother Rob invited me to a photo walk with a bunch of photographers, and then we do it every weekend, Saturday to Sunday, 9 a.m. to 7 to the sun comes down, just practicing on our craft, and then every time we were eating, I noticed that Floyd always is the first one that posts his photo on Instagram, and I'm like, how the hell do you post a photo on Instagram that quick? Like, I'm like, do you have a filter in your camera or something? Like a system? Because he's always been like the first one to post it. I'm like, how the heck did you post so quickly? And then I found out while we're walking around in photography, there's a lot of walking while we're walking around. Floyd is on his phone editing
Yep.
while we're walking like 5 blocks to the next spot to shoot at. I'm like, wow, see,
That
how
was that
can
was
you multitask, man?
that was my process for the longest time. Just use my phone to edit.
You still do that sometimes. I
Sometimes I still do it. Yeah, if I'm really excited about a photo, I just transfer it to my phone and edit it right away.
Yeah, because I noticed we did a recent photo walk with getting the guys back together, and
Yeah.
then like you post the photo really quick. and
Yeah, I still edit on my phone.
yeah, I think it was a photo of me trying out my new camera.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, and then the the photographer I brought in, I invited her like, how can this guy do it so quick? I'm like, it's magic. It's magic with the camera. But yeah, like I think like I really do bad that you were in Toronto during that time of the photo contest for
Oh yeah.
the after band because you would have because I noticed everyone was me and Megan and she said every other photographer were panicking to get our edit done and then but I noticed you might have a really easier time that editing and then that send it off.
Yeah, it's too bad I missed that. That looked like a fun project to do, and then seeing your guys' stuff on the Vans exhibit, I guess, was really cool. Yeah, it's too
Yeah,
bad I missed it.
yeah, it was a fun and we got free shoes.
Yeah, free shoes, free Van shoes. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was fun uh, and you were with you were with us the day after
Yeah, when I
looking
got
at
back.
looking at it and we talked to really like some really some really polished photographer that really made it because
Yeah,
they all like they're like yeah I work for Adidas now I
that's
work for
crazy.
fans I'm like
Yeah,
wow I wanna be with you and they're actually now they're actually now like they one of them contacted me and they said that we should go on a photo walk sometime in Vancouver if
be dope
we
once
go
everything's back
together.
to normal.
Yeah, once everything is back to normal and I really like their style too. And speaking of traveling, you traveled in many places.
Yep.
So what is your favorite place to travel?
Yeah, I've been to a few different places, but I think my favorite so far has been to Tokyo, Japan. We were only there for 3 days, so that's probably why I've been wanting to go back ever since. But there's so many just interesting scenes happening in the city, and just so many things happening. There's so many people who look like really dressed up. It's something else down there, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, Japan is definitely cool. One of my go-to places to go. Hopefully, we can go together someday after this pandemic is over.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah, you know, Tokyo 2022 was out.
What's
Oh,
out?
and then for I wanna because I remember you mentioned to me that photography is not a it's not a skill that you are born with is is something that you can do. It's something that anyone can do. So, do you believe that uh, because oftentimes you get people saying to you that I'm not a photographer, I'm not a professional. So, do you believe that anyone can be a photographer?
Yeah, I think anyone can be a photographer. I think everyone is pretty much a photographer nowadays with smartphones having such easy access to amazing cameras. So it doesn't matter what camera you have. I guess this is a quote from Chase Jarvis: "The best camera is the one you have with you." So I've used my phone a lot of times to shoot some really nice photos when I didn't have my camera. I've shot with disposable cameras before, point and shoot. My go-to camera is this Fuji point and shoot camera. It's not even a DSLR, I guess. It's a little rangefinder style camera. So I think you just need to keep practicing and keep shooting every day if you're really into it. That's what I try to do a lot. I bring my little camera everywhere and then shoot just interesting scenes that I think is happening around me. So yes, I think everyone and anyone can be a photographer.
And for like and you touch on that for you touch that for a bit, but how can people improve their photography skills?
There's lots of methods out there. I think YouTube. I've learned a lot of my skills through YouTube, online resources. Instagram even will have a lot of resources and stuff where you can learn photography skills. Um, TikTok even will have random photography tutorials out there. So it's just so accessible. You go to the library. You can even just walk up to someone if you see someone shooting on the street. Just walk up to them and ask whatever question you want to ask and how to shoot photos and stuff. Join different photography communities. It's I think it's accessibility to that is so easy and everyone's so accommodating to teach new people who want to learn photography in their life. So there's a lot of resources out there.
And by the way, I don't hear that TikTok if you for
Yeah, the that TikTok info came from you.
didn't I tell you. And and anyway, speaking with anyone can be a photographer. There is a debate that we don't need to buy cameras anymore because the functionality of the cell phone is with like the portrait mode and all that. Do you believe as a photographer that cameras are gonna drift away and die?
I think it depends on what you're trying to do. Phone cameras have definitely come a long way, and I think people criticize the features like portrait mode, so like computational photography, are mainly photographers because they can tell if the portrait mode or the portrait photo has been taken with a cell phone or with an actual camera. Because there's little details that you can tell, you can pick out as a photographer. But if you're just like a normal person looking at two different photos, you're like, oh yeah, they look very, very similar. But I think it depends really on what you're doing. If you're making, um, if you're creating photos that are made to live on a giant billboard, I think you're going to need some sort of pro camera. If you're making photos to live solely on digital platforms, Instagram, um, Facebook, even, your phone camera is completely fine with that. So it depends on the medium of what you're aiming your project towards. But I think there's always going to be room in the world for pro grade cameras, especially in high end commercial work and sports photography. Even like you can't capture a singular moment without, you know, with this at a sports high end sports game, right? You can't capture
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I agree. And even with print media, like we got experience with getting our work published. It
Hmm.
won't work with just that iPhone or the most expensive phone in the world because some of the fine details, like you cannot closely and some of the details with a phone is more like artificial. It doesn't look authentic, not like a real camera that cap so that a real camera work with the light so
Yeah.
that it and with the phone it just computer all computer with it really easy to tell for you and I, but not many people would pick up on the fine details. I totally agree with you. And so I got a question. So, do you get offended when people we talked about it, but I wanna get your take. Do you get offended when people describe your photography as a hobby?
Oh, as a hobby, yeah. I mean, there's definitely times when I got heated with this question, but I can see it as um, from their perspective. It can be both. I think I've opened my mind up to see both sides of the coin. It can be both a hobby and a profession. It just depends on how far you're willing to take it, right? So
Yeah,
if you're just a regular recreational photographer, then I guess you can call yourself a hobbyist. But if you're there grinding your business end, your portfolio work, trying to find clients and stuff like that, then I think you can definitely put yourself in the category of being professional or um, putting photography in that career bucket instead of just a hobby bucket, you know?
I totally agree. And then I remember what I was interviewing Megan, our friend, that
Mm-hmm.
said a good perspective about how she said the same thing you said, but she told me that it depends because if I'm doing outdoor photography, it's more like a hobby to her. But if she's going into like commercials and weddings and family portraits, it's her business. So she's doing it professionally. So she can see both sides, and
Mm-hmm.
it just depends on what kind of photography is for business and what kind of photography is just uh, like you wanna try out something new.
And I think gray lines exist in between those worlds as well. So I think there's definitely some transitions between both sides of the fence and each kind of photography that you try to pursue. You can definitely turn it into a hobby into a career or a career into a hobby. There's a lot of gray lines and weird transitions between like the different genres of photography. So I think um, both sides of the coin exist at the same time.
I also want to ask you for all the camera gear nerds out there. You know what question I'm gonna ask you? What kind of gear do you have?
I have a bunch of different gear. I don't know if you can even see it behind me here. This is my
Yep,
gear.
I can see it.
There's a bunch of different gear. My main camera is it's a very entry level Canon SLR camera, but I bought a very high end lens for it, so I think that's where it kind of separates itself from the pack. I've been shooting a lot of analog format lately, seeing as we don't seem to be getting out of this quarantine anytime soon.
Oh,
I've been practicing that. My other camera is actually over there on the table right now, but that's the main camera that I use pretty much every day and just shoot different things and scenes and objects around the house, around the city. Yeah, I have a couple different point and shoots behind me too. So anything I can get my hands on actually is my gear of choice, even my phone.
oh yeah. You, you can be creative with whatever, and the concept that you don't need an expensive camera to take a photos is really true. And can you tell me, like, which is more important, the camera body or the lens?
Um, it could be subjective, but I'm on the camp where the lens is a lot more important to me. If you slap an amazing lens on a really cheap camera body, I think you're gonna get some amazing photos out of it. Versus if you slap on a decent or starter lens on a high-end camera, you could get mediocre photos. But I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong. I've seen a lot of amazing work come from the kit lens of the newer cameras these days. So with technology advancing so fast, I think the basic, even the entry level prosumer grade camera kits do an amazing job.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like with putting a good camera lens in the old DSLR silver magic. I felt yeah, I still travel with my first camera and that dropped in a good lens, and it just I still take amazing photos, and you're right, it just in come photography can be expensive, but you really need to know how to work it first. And I think having a tight budget in photography will make you a better photographer, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes if you're within some sort of restraint, whether that be with your gear or with your budget, I think it kind of pushes you to be a bit more creative with working with the items that you already have.
Definitely, definitely. And I also got more more questions. So I always ask this question in the end of my interview because this interview series is to connect with one another and give people a sense of hope, motivation to get through these tough times. So I know this is a pandemic and there is really hard for us to to be living where we once was. But do you got any form of motivation or message to say to the audience out there that is dealing with mental health and dealing with feeling isolated?
I think for me, I think it's definitely essential for you to take things day by day and not try not to worry about things down the road, anyways, because um, things pass. Just give it time, and we'll be out of this sooner than later, hopefully. But I think taking it day by day for sure is a lot. It's helped me, anyways, with trying to deal and cope with all the uncertainty and um, all the fear that's kind of coming through us through media and all that kind of thing. So I think it's important to take things day by day, and it's very important to kind of disconnect, even just for an hour a day, to kind of recollect yourself and put your thoughts together and just kind of relax and not stress yourself out too much.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And one more question: how did this impact? How did this situation impact your your photography opportunities?
Well, I've lost a couple projects because of this, so we can't really set up things like studio shoots since we got to social and physically distance from each other. Um, yeah, I think that's mainly it, and I'm trying to figure out how to help other local businesses out there because I know right now everyone's glued to their phones and glued to the media and stuff like that, and now more than ever, I think people are looking for content to really kind of pass time and promote their products, promote their business and stuff like that. So just trying to figure things out on that end. I know a lot of things are canceled, but I think soon, like we're eventually gonna make it through this. So even working through like the back end stuff, prepping and a lot of pre-planning for future shoots so that when we are out that and then we're kind of ready to jump in the water and tackle projects one at a time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like I know like we lost a lot of projects because of this pandemic, but it just give us some time to rethink things and to reevaluate about how can we help support clients and local businesses to produce for them the best content
Mm-hmm.
they can put forward to attract clients. And then, yep, so like again, I'm really wanna thank you both for being in my interview web series.
I reluctantly accepted.
We like now you accepted, and yeah, and if like tell the viewers where they can find you.
I'm mainly more active on my Instagram. Instagram handle at the Floyd G. You have my website, floydgonzales.com. Where else I'm on? I think that's all. That's my main platforms. Maybe YouTube down the road. We'll see.
YouTube. Oh yeah.
If this quarantining keeps on, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. We'll see.
Don't you already have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, but it's not up to date. Super old.
Oh yeah, that's skiing. Go bro. That's snowboarding. Go bro.
Snowboard days.
Yeah, what? Yes. And also, you're forgetting something. You're a little bit active on TikTok.
No, I'm not at all active on TikTok.
Yet you are.
Not at
Uh,
all.
Yet you are on
Trying to
my
force TikTok on me.
TikTok. On my TikTok, you're a little bit active. So more to come.
Check out Lionel's TikTok for clips of me.
Don't worry, I'm gonna get him dancing. I'm already working on something right now. So anyways, I wanna say thank you and people be safe and an important message I want to say that practice social distancing, that remember we're doing it for my three favorite F words with our family, friends, and the future, because we need to keep them all alive and safe. So love each other and take care. See ya.
Peace.